At the end of a long day, there is a particular comfort in sitting near a warm stove, with a cup held between both hands, while the house settles into its evening hush. Perhaps the chair is not especially soft, and the tea is not especially grand, but for a few quiet minutes, everything is in its place. Tonight, we are going to linger in that small comfort and follow the daily round of a mother in a 1930s small town. From the first cool light at the kitchen window to the last careful turn of the stove. If you genuinely enjoy these gentle journeys into the homes of the past, you are warmly invited to like the video and subscribe, and to leave a comment telling us where you are listening from and which ordinary household sound you remember most fondly. A kettle beginning to sing, a screen door closing, a treadle sewing machine, or perhaps dishes being put away after supper. And if you prefer to listen with the screen turned off, the show is also available on Spotify, where a quiet visit to an old kitchen can keep you company just as well. Now settle comfortably and let the memory, or the imagined memory, of such a home begin to rise around you. The worn kitchen table, the checked curtains, the clock ticking steadily on the wall. There is no hurry here. What did it take to bring a household gently to life before anyone else was awake? How did a mother plan meals when every penny, every leftover, and every jar on the pantry shelf had a purpose? What small pleasures brightened a day of washing, cooking, mending, errands, and children underfoot? Which household skills seemed so ordinary then that few people thought to call them skills at all? And when evening finally came, how did the home grow quiet again beneath her watchful, practiced hands? Let us ease back to a small Midwestern town in the United States in the year 1936, where maples shade modest streets and the business district is only a few blocks from the houses at its edge. Dawn is still some distance away, but behind one kitchen window, the day is already beginning. The house is dark when the mother wakes. Not entirely dark, perhaps, for a thin greyness touches the bedroom curtains, and the face of the alarm clock has a faint, pale gleam. Yet it is dark enough that she knows the hour by instinct before she reaches toward the bedside table. The clock may be a small wind-up model, its ticking rather more determined than its size would suggest. It has no glowing figures, no gentle bird song, and certainly no understanding of a snooze button. If it rings with purpose. But often she wakes just before it, trained by years of breakfasts, school bells, work hours, babies, and household routines. Beside her, her husband may still be sleeping. Across the hall, the children lie beneath quilts that have shifted during the night. One child is curled tightly, one has pushed the covers away, and another has somehow turned crosswise despite beginning the night in the usual direction. Children have always possessed that quiet talent for occupying more bed than seems mathematically possible. She sits for a moment on the edge of the mattress, feeling the cool floor beneath her feet. The room carries the clean, faint scent of cotton sheets, face powder from the dressing table, and the night air that has slipped through a gap in the window frame. The house has cooled while everyone slept. In winter, the cold may be sharp enough to encourage very quick dressing. In warmer weather, the air is softer, already holding the promise of another bright day. Her first garment is practical. She may pull on a cotton house dress, fastening it down the front or at the side, then cover it with an apron once the kitchen work begins. Stockings may wait until later if she is not yet going out. Her hair, set the night before, or simply pinned up for sleep, is gathered into order with a comb and a few quick movements. There is no audience for this early transformation. The day does not require ceremony yet. It requires a fire, or at least heat. You can follow her quietly down the narrow hallway. The boards are cool, and there is one familiar place that gives a little creak, no matter how carefully she steps. She knows exactly where it is. Every household has such a board, a hinge, or a stair that seems to have appointed itself the official announcer of late arrivals and early risers. In the kitchen, she strikes a match. For some small-town households in 1936, cooking is done on a coal or wood range. Others have a gas stove, especially where town gas service is available. Kerosene stoves are used in many places, particularly in warm weather when nobody wishes to feed a large kitchen range. Electric ranges exist, but they are far from universal. The form of the morning varies from house to house, yet the purpose is the same: to warm water, cook breakfast, and bring the kitchen back from night. If this home has a coal range, she opens the draft and studies yesterday's fire. A few coals may still hold a dull red heart beneath the ash. With paper, kindling, and a practiced arrangement of fuel, she coaxes it awake. The first flame catches with a dry whisper. Soon there is a little crackle, then a deeper sound as the fire takes hold. The stove changes the room almost at once. Its iron begins to warm. A kettle is set in place, perhaps already filled the night before. In a house with indoor plumbing, she has only to turn a tap, though the water may run cold and metallic for a moment. In a home without it, the water has been carried from a pump or drawn from a cistern and waits in a pail with a dipper nearby. Even within a single small town, comforts can differ from one street to another. By the middle of the 1930s, many townhomes have electricity, but not all household work has become electric. A bulb hanging from the kitchen ceiling may cast a yellow pool of light over the table. There may be an electric iron, a toaster, or a vacuum cleaner in the home, depending on income and local service. Yet many familiar appliances of later decades are absent, uncommon, or too costly to be treated casually. A refrigerator is a prized possession where there is one. Elsewhere, an icebox still stands in the kitchen or pantry, its metal-lined compartment cooled by a block of ice delivered through the neighborhood. For the moment, however, the most important piece of equipment is the kettle. While it heats, she moves through a sequence so familiar that little thought is required. She opens the curtains. She checks the weather through the glass. She takes down the coffee pot and measures coffee with care. She may grind beans in a small hand mill, though packaged ground coffee is widely sold. The grinder gives a brief, gritty rasp, and the fragrance rises, dark and comforting. Coffee in many homes is made in a percolator, a drip pot, or a simple boiled preparation. If times are lean, coffee may be stretched, made weaker, or replaced at some meals by another hot drink. But when it is available, its smell belongs to morning as surely as the clock and the first footsteps overhead. Breakfast depends on the family, the region, the season, and the household purse. Oatmeal is economical and warming. Cornmeal mush may be cooked slowly and served with milk, syrup, or brown sugar, then chilled in a pan so slices can be fried another morning. Eggs are welcome when hens are laying or the grocer has a good price. Toast, biscuits, fried potatoes, stewed fruit, bacon, salt pork, or sausage may appear when circumstances allow. In many homes, breakfast is substantial because the people eating it will be working for hours before noon. This morning, she makes oatmeal and toast, with eggs for her husband and the older child. The oatmeal goes into boiling water with salt, and she lowers the heat so it can cook without scorching. That last part sounds simple. It is not always simple on a stove whose heat is managed with drafts, dampers, fuel, and the position of the pot on the stovetop. Temperature control lives largely in the cook's eye, hand, ear, and experience. She knows the hot places on her stove. She knows where a pot will boil briskly and where it can be moved to simmer. A modern recipe may say 350 degrees and leave the oven to settle the matter. Her oven may have a thermometer, but often she judges readiness through long acquaintance, the feel of the heat when the door is opened, the speed at which a scrap of paper browns, or the behavior of the food itself. That knowledge is rarely written down, It has been learned beside another woman, perhaps her mother, grandmother, aunt, older sister, or neighbour. It has been gathered through mornings when the biscuits rose well, and mornings when they did not. A capable cook is not someone who never has a stubborn loaf or a scorched edge. She is someone who knows what can still be served, what can be trimmed, and what can be quietly renamed. As the oatmeal thickens, she cuts slices from yesterday's bread. Bread may come from the bakery or grocery, or it may have been made at home. By 1936, sliced commercial bread is familiar to many American shoppers, though a home-baked loaf remains common and economical in numerous households. If she has an electric toaster, it may toast 2 slices at a time. More likely, she uses the oven, a stovetop device, or a wire toasting rack. The toast requires watching. It has no timer and no intention of rescuing itself. The kettle begins to hum. The coffee sends up its first fragrant breath. Pipes give a soft knock somewhere in the wall. The house, which seemed asleep only minutes ago, is becoming a place of small sounds. Soon her husband enters, dressed for work or nearly so. His occupation might be at a store, garage, mill, railway office, bank, post office, school, workshop, or one of the other businesses that keep a small town running. During the Depression, employment can be uncertain, hours reduced, and wages carefully guarded. Yet the morning itself is not conducted as a speech about hardship. It is conducted through ordinary things. A cup placed beside a plate, lunch wrapped for later, and a question about whether rain is expected. She pours his coffee. He may unfold the local newspaper if it arrived early, or glance at yesterday's edition. The pages carry national events, advertisements, crop prices, social notices, school news, and small local items that everyone will somehow know before the day is over. In a small town, information travels through newspapers, telephones, shop counters, porches, church groups, and the remarkably efficient network of people who happen to be passing. The children must be awakened next. She calls from the foot of the stairs or opens each bedroom door. There are sleepy protests, blankets pulled higher, and promises that someone is already awake when all visible evidence suggests otherwise. She gives them another moment, but only another moment. Breakfast has a time, school has a time, and the entire household depends upon those times fitting together. A younger child may be dressed with help. Buttons are fastened, a collar is straightened, and a sock is found beneath the bed. The older child dresses independently, but still requires a reminder about hair, teeth, or the schoolbook left on the parlour table. Toothpaste is available, though tooth powder is still used in some homes. A toothbrush stands in a cup or holder near the wash basin. If the bedrooms have washstands rather than a full upstairs bathroom, a pitcher and basin serve for washing, and warm water may be carried up when needed. The mother moves between stove and family, answering questions while watching the oatmeal. She knows where the arithmetic paper was placed, whether the raincoat has dried, and which child objected to the same sweater yesterday. This is not magic, although to everyone else it may look rather close. It is attention accumulated over time. At the table, the family gathers in stages. The youngest child is still soft with sleep. One older child eats quickly. Another studies the bowl as though oatmeal has arrived to negotiate personally. A spoonful of brown sugar, a little milk, or stewed apple improves relations. The mother may sit for part of breakfast, but she rises often. More toast is needed. The coffee wants refilling. A lunch pail is not quite finished. She has packed sandwiches, perhaps with leftover roast, cheese, egg, peanut butter, or a modest spread of meat. Waxed paper wraps the food. A piece of fruit, a jar of stewed fruit, cookies, or a slice of cake may be added if the pantry permits. Thermos bottles exist, but many lunches are simple and cool. Food is not tossed thoughtlessly into the pail. Yesterday's meat is sliced thinly. A heel of bread may be used where it will not be noticed, or perhaps where it will be noticed but accepted. A dab of pickle relish changes the flavor. A biscuit becomes a sandwich. A clean jar holds pudding or fruit. Household economy is often less about grand sacrifice than about 1,000 small refusals to waste what can still be useful. During the Depression years, many families maintain gardens, preserve produce, keep hens where local rules and space allow, and rely upon networks of exchange. A neighbor with extra beans may trade for apples. A relative in the country may send eggs or a dressed chicken. The town grocer may extend credit to a known family, recording purchases in a ledger. Some people pay promptly each week. Others pay when work or harvest brings money. These arrangements depend on trust, reputation, and the grocer's own narrow margins. At breakfast, none of this needs explaining. It is present in the careful scrape of oatmeal from the pan and the way she saves the last spoonful rather than rinsing it away. The husband leaves first. She hands him his lunch and perhaps reminds him of an errand, though she knows that reminders offered at the doorway have an uncertain survival rate. The outer door opens to cold air and the smell of damp ground. His footsteps cross the porch. A car engine may turn over at the curb, or he may walk toward the business district. In many small towns, distances are manageable on foot. A bicycle, streetcar in a larger community, bus, or shared family automobile may also carry people to work. The children follow in a lively cluster once coats, hats, books, and lunch boxes have been assembled. Not every child carries lunch. Some return home at noon, and some schools provide arrangements of their own. The school bell shapes the morning. Children walk along sidewalks, cut across vacant lots, or join friends at the corner. Their voices fade down the street. The screen door closes behind them with a wooden clap. And then, suddenly, the kitchen is quiet. Not silent. The clock ticks. The stove breathes softly. A spoon rests against a bowl. Outside, a delivery truck changes gears on the next street. But the family's urgent morning energy has passed, leaving the room in a state that many mothers would recognize. Chairs slightly out of line, crumbs beneath the table, a milk ring on the oilcloth, and one mitten still present, despite having been urgently required 5 minutes earlier. She stands for a moment with her hands resting on the back of a chair. This may be her first quiet pause since waking. It does not last long, but it belongs to her. She drinks the coffee that has cooled in her cup. Perhaps she eats the remaining half slice of toast. The kitchen is warming now, and pale morning light reaches across the floor. If your own eyes are growing heavy, you can let them close here. The day will continue without any need for you to manage it. You need only listen to the clock, the stove, and the soft movement of a woman setting her kitchen to rights. She begins with the table. Leftovers are covered and stored. Before the age of plastic wrap and resealable containers, food is protected with lids, plates placed over bowls, waxed paper, cloth, jars and covered dishes. Butter returns to its crock or compartment. Milk goes into the icebox or refrigerator. Bread is wrapped or placed in a bread box to keep it from drying. If the household uses an icebox, she checks the drip pan. Melting ice produces water that must go somewhere, and forgetting the pan is an inconvenience best avoided. The iceman delivers blocks according to a route, carrying them with tongs and sometimes entering through a small exterior ice door built into the wall. A card placed in the window can indicate how much ice is wanted, its printed number turned upright for the deliveryman to see. Children often watch the ice wagon in warm weather, hoping for a chip. A clear shard of ice in the hand is a small treasure on a summer day, even if it melts before one has decided what to do with it. The breakfast dishes wait in a dishpan or sink. In a home with hot running water, washing is more convenient. But hot water may still come from a range reservoir or kettle. She pours it carefully, adds soap, and begins with glasses and cups, then cutlery, plates, and the more heavily soiled pans. Soap powders and packaged cleansers are available, but plain household soap, washing soda, and other familiar materials remain important. She washes with an order learned through repetition. The water is hottest and cleanest for delicate things. Greasy pans come later. A dishcloth moves around the rim of each cup. Plates knock softly against one another. The window above the sink, if there is one, gives her a view of the yard, the alley, the neighbouring roofline, and the changing weather. She may see another woman hanging bedding 2 houses away. Someone shakes a rug from a back step. A boy pedals past on a bicycle with a canvas newspaper bag. The town is rising all around her, household by household. Dishes are placed in a rack or on a towel to drain, then dried and returned to cupboards. Cupboards in the 1930s may be built in, freestanding, or assembled around a kitchen cabinet, such as the practical cabinets popular in earlier decades, with bins, shelves, a work surface, and places for flour or utensils. The kitchen is rarely enormous. Its efficiency comes from knowing where everything belongs. She wipes the oilcloth-covered table. Oilcloth and later enamel-topped tables offer surfaces that can withstand repeated scrubbing. The pattern might be cheerful checks, small flowers, or a plain mottled design. Along one edge, the cloth has softened from years of hands and elbows. Crumbs are swept into her palm or brushed to the floor before the floor itself is swept. The broom reaches beneath the table and range. Dust, thread, ash, and tiny bits of breakfast gather into a neat line. A carpet sweeper may be used in other rooms, and an electric vacuum may belong to the household or be borrowed occasionally. Yet the broom remains a daily companion. Sweeping is not merely pushing dust from one place to another, though every broom seems tempted to try. She works from the far corners toward the center, lifting chairs or moving them aside. The dustpan has a metal edge that scrapes faintly against linoleum or painted boards. Kitchen floors often use linoleum because it is durable and washable. The designs may imitate tile, stone, or geometric patterns. In humbler or older kitchens, floorboards are painted, scrubbed, or covered in part with a rug. A worn place marks the route between stove, sink, table, and pantry. It is a map of daily work, drawn by footsteps. She empties ashes if the stove requires it, taking care with the ash pan. Ash has uses. Wood ash may be saved for certain household or garden purposes, though coal ash is handled differently. Ashes can be spread on icy paths where suitable, placed with refuse, or collected according to local custom. The work is dusty, so she may tie a cloth over her hair or brush her sleeves afterward. Now the beds need making. She opens bedroom curtains and, when weather permits, raises the windows to air the rooms. Fresh air is strongly valued in the period. Bedding may be turned back to cool and air before the bed is made. The morning enters with the scent of leaves, coal smoke, damp earth, bread from a nearby bakery, or perhaps the sharper smell of a garage along the main road. Beds are made with sheets pulled smooth, blankets straightened, and pillows plumped. Mattresses may be inner spring, cotton, felt, or another filling, depending on the household. Feather pillows are common and require shaking into shape. Quilts, comforters, wool blankets, and chenille spreads bring colour and weight. A quilt may have been made years earlier from dress scraps, feed sacks, or purchased cloth. Its pattern carries pieces of family history without announcing them. Here is a faded blue from an older child's shirt. There is a flowered patch from a summer dress. The woman making the bed may recognize the fabric at once, although nobody else remembers. Feed and flour sacks are valuable household cloth. Manufacturers increasingly produce sacks in printed patterns because families reuse them for dresses, shirts, aprons, curtains, undergarments, tea towels, and quilts. Selecting sacks that match can require planning and cooperation. A child's dress might begin, quite literally, with several purchases of flour or chicken feed. The mother straightens a small bedside rug and gathers clothing. Some garments are clean enough to wear again and are hung carefully rather than sent automatically to the laundry. Frequent washing is hard on fabric and hard on the person doing it. A spot may be brushed, a collar wiped, or an apron changed while the dress beneath remains serviceable. In the children's room, she finds a marble, a hair ribbon, 2 buttons, and a library book beneath the pillow. The marble goes into a pocket or jar. The ribbon is smoothed. The buttons are placed near the sewing basket. The library book returns to the table downstairs before the town librarian has cause to remember the family by name. Housework in the 1930s is shaped by a weekly rhythm as well as a daily one. Monday is widely associated with washing, Tuesday with ironing, though families arrange their routines according to water, weather, work, custom, and necessity. Baking, mending, cleaning, marketing, and church or club meetings may each have their customary place. The pattern prevents every task from demanding attention at once. If this is Monday, the wash is the great undertaking of the morning. Laundry begins before the first garment touches water. Clothes have been sorted by colour, fabric, and degree of soil. Tears may be mended first, so agitation does not make them worse. Stains are treated, white cottons may be soaked. Water must be heated, soap prepared, equipment brought into order, and the weather studied with the seriousness of a farmer examining the sky. An electric washing machine is present in some homes by 1936, though ownership varies greatly. It may have a tub and agitator, with a wringer mounted above. Other households use a gasoline-powered washer where electricity is absent, a hand-operated machine, or the older combination of tubs, washboard, boiler, and strong arms. Even a powered washer does not wash, rinse, wring, hang, gather, and iron the clothes by itself. It is an assistant, not a miracle. In our kitchen, a wringer washer stands on the enclosed back porch. It is rolled near the sink or drain, and hoses and tubs are arranged around it. The mother heats additional water on the stove. Steam slowly clouds the lower panes of the windows. She may use bar soap shaved into hot water, soap flakes, or a packaged laundry product. Washing soda helps with hard water and heavy soil. Bluing is used carefully in the rinse for white fabrics, countering yellow tones. Too much bluing produces a result that no one intended, so the bottle is handled with respect. The first load may be the white clothes, sheets, pillowcases, towels, undergarments, shirts, and cloths. Water and fuel are not wasted, so the order of loads matters. The cleanest items are washed before darker or more heavily soiled work clothes. Water may be reused where sensible. The washer begins its rhythmic motion. It churns and hums, and the porch floor carries a mild vibration. The smell is warm soap, wet cotton, and steam. She lifts a sheet with a wooden stick or tongs, guiding it without putting her hand near moving parts. The wringer consists of 2 rollers that squeeze water from the cloth. It saves enormous hand labour but demands attention. Long hair, loose clothing, and fingers must be kept safely away. Garments are fed evenly. Buttons are turned inward or guided carefully so they do not crack. The sheet emerges flattened, dripping less, and ready for rinse water. There may be 2 or 3 rinses, depending on soap, water, and custom. She turns the wringer between tubs. Each piece goes through again. The work is physical but practiced, and the sequence acquires a steady rhythm. Lift, feed, catch, fold into the next tub, then repeat. The children's stockings appear longer when wet. Men's shirts become pale, obedient shapes. Pillowcases slip through quickly. A tablecloth is examined for a mark that has not quite yielded. Starch is prepared for collars, cuffs, dresses, aprons or shirts that require crispness. Commercial starch is available, and homemade starch can be made from flour or cornstarch. The garment is dipped or treated according to the stiffness wanted. Too much starch makes ironing harder. Too little leaves a collar with ideas of its own. Outside, the clothesline waits. The yard may be narrow, bounded by an alley, kitchen garden, shed, and neighbouring fences. Lines stretch between posts or from porch to pole, sometimes lifted with a long prop after the wash is hung. The grass is damp beneath her shoes, the sun has climbed above the roofs, and the sky looks promising. She carries the basket against her hip. Wooden clothespins rattle in a bag or apron pocket. The first sheet is snapped once to open it, then raised to the line. She fastens it securely, sharing pins between adjoining items to save both pins and space. White sheets catch the morning light and become bright walls of cloth. Towels hang in rows. Shirts are placed by the tail or shoulder according to preference. Stockings are paired. Dresses are turned or hung carefully to preserve their shape. If there is a breeze, the whole line fills and relaxes, like slow breathing. You can rest with that motion for a while. There is nothing you need to pin, carry, or rinse. Let the clean sheets move above the grass while the quiet sounds of the town pass beyond the fence. A neighbour may call a greeting. The women exchange a few words about the weather, the price of peaches, a child's cold, or the possibility of rain. Such conversations are not interruptions to domestic life. They are part of its fabric. A back fence can serve as a news desk, advice bureau, lending library, and place of sympathy, all without formal hours. One woman has an extra cake of yeast. Another can spare a preserving jar. Someone knows how to remove ink from a cuff. Someone else has a pattern in the correct size. Knowledge circulates freely, though recipes occasionally contain phrases such as "a little flour" or "bake until done," which are less instructions than invitations to develop character. The mother returns indoors to finish the darker wash. Work shirts, overalls, dark stockings, kitchen cloths and play clothes require stronger treatment. Collars and cuffs may be rubbed with soap on a washboard. The ridged surface gives a firm rasp as cloth moves over it. A stubborn stain receives extra attention, not anger, merely persistence. Laundry tells the story of the household in a private language. Grass on a knee means outdoor play. Flour on an apron means baking. Ink on a pocket means school or office work. A grease mark may come from a workshop, bicycle chain, or kitchen pan. The woman washing these garments reads the evidence without needing it translated. When the final water is emptied and the machine wiped down, the porch is damp and warm. She rinses the tubs, coils a hose, and leaves the equipment ready to dry. The day has advanced almost without notice. On another day of the week, this same part of the morning may be devoted to deeper cleaning. Rugs are carried outside and shaken or beaten. Upholstery is brushed. Windows are washed with warm water, perhaps a little vinegar or ammonia depending on household practice, then polished with soft cloth or crumpled newspaper. Curtains are taken down and laundered. Woodwork is wiped, furniture dusted, and floors mopped or scrubbed. Coal heat and unpaved streets create persistent dust and soot. Even where roads are paved, smoke from chimneys and traffic leaves its mark. A housewife may dust often, using a cloth lightly treated to collect particles rather than merely send them travelling. Decorative surfaces, picture frames, chair rungs, and the carved places on furniture all seem designed to shelter one last line of dust. The parlor or living room has a different air from the kitchen. It may contain the family radio, upholstered chairs, a small table with magazines, framed photographs, and perhaps a piano. Lace curtains soften the window light. A rug covers the center of the floor, leaving polished boards visible around the edges. Furniture is not replaced simply because it has grown unfashionable. A chair may be recovered, a table refinished, a cushion turned. Slip covers protect upholstery during warm months or give an older room a fresh appearance. Crochet antimacassars may rest along chair backs and arms. They are decorative, but they also protect fabric from hair oil and daily wear. She dusts the radio cabinet with particular care. The radio is one of the household's connections to a larger world. By 1936, radio broadcasting brings news, music, comedy, serialized dramas, religious programs, farm reports, household advice, and advertising into millions of American homes. Families often organize parts of the day around favorite broadcasts. The set may be a handsome wooden console standing like a piece of furniture or a smaller tabletop model. It requires tuning by hand. Stations fade, crackle, and drift. Distant voices arrive through a veil of static, then clear suddenly, as if the speaker has stepped closer. During housework, the mother may turn the radio on for company. A morning program offers music, recipes, homemaking suggestions, or a cheerful announcer promoting soap, cereal, shortening, or coffee. Sponsors become closely linked with programs, and advertising jingles have an inconvenient habit of staying in the mind long after useful information has departed. The radio fills the room, but does not dominate it. She moves in and out while it plays. A song follows her to the bedroom. An announcer's voice continues while she wipes the hall mirror. If reception falters, she adjusts the dial and returns to work. Some advice offered to women through magazines and radio is practical. Some is hopeful. Some assumes that a different face cream or cleaner will solve matters more complex than any jar can manage. The housewife listens with interest and a measure of judgment. Advertising may be persuasive, but a woman balancing a household budget is not easily separated from a coin without good reason. Money enters nearly every domestic decision. The family income may be steady, reduced, seasonal, or uncertain. The mother often manages the daily household cash, even if larger financial decisions are shared or formally handled by her husband. She knows what remains in the grocery envelope, when the insurance premium is due, how long the coal must last, and whether new shoes can be bought this week or must wait until next. She may keep accounts in a notebook, on the back of an envelope, or in a household ledger. Rent or mortgage, fuel, electricity, telephone service, food, clothing, school needs, medicine, church contributions, and repairs all press upon the same sum. Pennies matter because enough pennies become bread, soap, thread, or a streetcar fare. The home may have a telephone, likely a black desk or wall model connected through a local exchange. In smaller communities, party lines are common, meaning several households share a line. Each has a distinctive ring. Privacy depends partly upon good manners and partly upon whether the neighbors possess them. To place a call, she may lift the receiver and speak to an operator, especially where automatic dialing has not arrived. The local operator is efficient and often familiar with subscribers. In emergencies, that familiarity is valuable. In ordinary life, it also means one should choose one's words, with the awareness that a small town rarely allows information to feel lonely. Not every household keeps a telephone, because service costs money. A nearby neighbor or shop may receive an urgent message. Written notes are sent with children. News travels by post, and the postman is a regular, recognized figure whose arrival can brighten the day when he carries a letter from distant family. This morning, The telephone rings while the mother is changing a pillowcase. She pauses to listen for the household's ring if the line is shared, then answers. It is her sister, cousin, or neighbor asking whether she will be going downtown later. The conversation is brief because telephone calls are not treated as endless open rooms. They have purpose, yet before it ends, they discuss a child's school program, the availability of canning sugar at the grocer, and whether a borrowed dress pattern can be returned. The receiver settles back into its cradle with a firm click. By late morning, the beds are made, the breakfast dishes are put away, laundry moves on the line, and the front rooms have been straightened. This does not mean the work is finished. It means the house has reached the point where another kind of work can begin. She turns to dinner. In many 1930s households, particularly in smaller towns and rural-influenced communities, the midday meal may be called dinner and may be the main cooked meal of the day. Elsewhere, especially where workers cannot return home, supper becomes more substantial. Family schedules determine the pattern. Our mother expects the youngest child home at noon, and perhaps an older child as well. Her husband may or may not be able to return. The meal must fit around what is on hand. She checks the pantry. The pantry is not merely storage. It is a quiet record of seasons, purchases, favors, planning, and labor. Shelves hold jars of tomatoes, green beans, peaches, pickles, relish, applesauce, preserves, and perhaps meat processed according to household practice. There are tins of baking powder, cocoa, spices, tea, coffee, and crackers. Flour and sugar occupy covered bins or canisters. Potatoes and onions are kept cool and dark. Dried beans wait in a jar or sack. Commercial canned foods are widely available, but home canning remains important. Safe canning knowledge varies, and practices have changed with improved understanding over time. Women consult government extension advice, agricultural colleges, manufacturers' booklets, newspapers, magazines, and one another. Pressure canners are recommended for low-acid vegetables and meats, while fruits, pickles, and other high-acid foods can be processed differently. A careful homemaker values a sound seal and inspects each jar before use. The jars are beautiful in a plain way. Tomatoes glow deep red. Peach halves rest in golden syrup. Green beans stand in close rows. Labels may be written by hand, sometimes with the year. In winter, opening one releases a small memory of August heat. Today she chooses a jar of tomatoes and a bowl of cooked beans left from the day before. A small piece of ham or salt pork can flavor them. Cornbread or biscuits will make the meal complete. She may prepare cabbage, potatoes, or macaroni, depending on the household's tastes and region. Leftovers are not viewed as an embarrassing failure of planning. They are ingredients. Mashed potatoes become cakes. Bread becomes pudding, crumbs, stuffing, or toast. Roast meat becomes hash or sandwiches. Cooked vegetables join soup. Sour milk, when safe and suitable, can be useful in baking. Fat is strained and saved for cooking. Bones become broth. Even clean paper and string are kept. There is often a drawer, tin, or jar for string, folded paper, rubber bands, corks, and other useful odds and ends. It can appear mysterious to a child, but its governing principle is simple. Someday, this will be exactly what is needed. Very often, someday arrives. She mixes cornbread in a bowl. Recipes may be written on cards, clipped from newspapers, printed in pamphlets, or held entirely in memory. Measurements are familiar cups and spoons. But not every household owns standardized measuring tools. A teacup may serve as a cup. A particular spoon stands in for a tablespoon. The cook adjusts by sight and texture. Flour is scooped and leveled. Cornmeal falls in a yellow stream. Baking powder is measured. An egg is cracked against the bowl. Milk is added and the batter turns smooth beneath a wooden spoon. The oven has been warming. She tests it, judges it ready, and slides in the pan. Soon the scent of hot meal and browning edges reaches through the kitchen. While food cooks, she sets the table. Everyday plates may be plain white, patterned china accumulated piece by piece, or dishes obtained through store promotions. Glasses do not always match. Cutlery may include older pieces and newer ones together. A chipped bowl remains in use if it is sound, though the chipped place is turned away from the guest when company comes. The youngest child bursts through the door close to noon, bringing outdoor air, schoolroom dust, and an urgent account of something that happened before recess. The story begins in the middle, includes 3 children whose identities are assumed to be obvious, and pauses only when the smell of cornbread is noticed. The mother listens while ladling beans. She asks for hands to be washed. The child goes reluctantly, then returns with hands that are wet in selected areas. A second trip may be required. If older children come home, the kitchen fills quickly. Coats go on hooks, or nearly on hooks. School books land on a chair. Someone asks what is for dinner, despite standing close enough to see it. They sit. Grace may be said, according to family custom. Plates are served simply. The warm cornbread breaks with a soft crumb. Butter melts into it if butter is available. Tomatoes taste bright against the beans. The mother eats with them now, asking about lessons, the teacher, and whether a note must be signed. School in the 1930s is formal by later standards. Desks may stand in rows. Penmanship, arithmetic, reading, geography, history, spelling, and civics shape the day. Ink pens or pencils are used, depending on age and school. Books may be passed from one class to the next and show years of careful handling. Children have chores at home, even if their tasks are small. An older child may carry coal, split kindling, wash dishes, sweep, care for hens, peel potatoes, mind a younger sibling, or run errands. A younger one can set forks, fold towels, dust low surfaces, or gather clothespins. The work is part necessity and part training. At noon, however, time is short. The school bell will not wait for a long conversation. The children eat, drink milk or water, and prepare to return. The mother wipes a spot from one collar with a damp cloth. She signs a paper. She reminds someone to bring home the arithmetic book this time. Then they are gone again. The kitchen contains the remains of the meal and a deeper afternoon light. The day has passed its midpoint. She washes dishes once more, but the pace is quieter. The radio offers music from the parlour. Outside, laundry snaps gently on the line. A cup of tea may appear now. Tea is not universal as a daily American habit, but many women enjoy it, and coffee, cocoa, or a glass of milk may serve the same purpose. The important thing is the pause. She pours a modest cup and sits at the table while the cornbread pan cools. Perhaps she reads a letter. The envelope has been opened neatly along one edge. The handwriting belongs to her mother, sister, or friend living in another town. Letters carry family news, recipes, questions, observations about weather, and reports of children growing. They may mention money indirectly, health carefully, and affection in phrases restrained by custom but understood completely. Paper is written on both sides. Margins sometimes hold one last thought. The writer may apologize for poor penmanship, though it is perfectly readable. A postscript contains the piece of news she most wanted to tell. The mother reads it again, then folds it along the established creases. It returns to the envelope, and perhaps to a box or drawer where other letters are kept. A reply will be written on Sunday afternoon or after the children are in bed, if the week allows. This is a good place to grow still. You can imagine the cup warming her hand and the old clock measuring the room one soft tick at a time. There is no need to follow every task closely now. The house will carry you with it. The afternoon changes according to the day. On Monday, she brings in clothes as they dry. Sheets smell of wind and sun, a scent no bottle has ever quite managed to capture. She folds them from the line if a child or neighbour is available to hold the opposite corners. Alone, she finds her own method, bringing corners together and smoothing the fabric across her arms. Clothes must not be left out after damp evening air settles. Weather can change quickly, and one dark cloud is enough to send a woman through the yard at a pace rarely displayed at any other time. Laundry and rain have maintained a long and mischievous acquaintance. Some pieces are folded and put away directly, others are prepared for ironing. Before steam irons become common, clothes are sprinkled with water, rolled tightly, and left to become evenly damp. A sprinkler bottle may be a glass bottle fitted with a perforated stopper, or water is flicked by hand. The damp rolls wait in a covered basket or cloth to prevent drying. If the household follows the familiar weekly sequence, Tuesday brings the ironing. The ironing board is unfolded or set across chairs. An electric iron is a considerable convenience where electricity is available, but early electric irons have no automatic temperature regulation in the modern sense and may require careful plugging and unplugging. Other homes use flat irons heated on the stove. Several irons are kept warming so one can replace another as it cools. A flat iron is heavy. Its handle may be detachable, allowing the hot iron body to remain on the stove while another is used. The sole must be clean and smooth. It is tested for heat, sometimes with a damp finger held near it or a brief touch to a cloth, though experienced hands rely on judgment. Ironing proceeds by fabric and heat. Handkerchiefs are easy and satisfying, becoming crisp squares beneath the iron. Pillowcases follow. Shirts require skill around collars, cuffs, sleeves, yokes and buttons. Dresses have gathers, pleats, sashes, and trims that seem designed to prove the ironer's patience. She stands for a long time, pressing, turning, smoothing. The iron makes a faint hiss over damp cloth. Warm cotton and starch scent the room. Finished pieces hang from door frames or chair backs before they are folded. A child's dress made from printed sackcloth brightens beneath the iron. Tiny flowers cover the fabric. The hem has been let down once, leaving a pale line that may be hidden with careful pressing. Children grow whether budgets invite them to or not. Clothes are built with room for alteration. Hem may somehow discover dust during the final 10 minutes before departure. Sunday dinner may be prepared partly in advance. A roast, chicken, ham, or casserole cooks while the family is away if the stove and recipe allow safe management, or the meal is assembled quickly afterward. Potatoes are peeled, vegetables prepared, pie baked on Saturday, and the best tablecloth spread. Church is religious observance, but it is also community. Families sit in familiar pews. Hymnals open. The organ sounds. Children study stained glass, hats, shoe tips, and the slow progress of the clock while attempting to appear attentive. After the service, people gather outside. News is exchanged. Invitations are offered. The minister speaks to families. A church bulletin announces suppers, missionary meetings, choir practice, youth events, and collections for those in need. At home, Sunday dinner fills the kitchen with savoury warmth. Company may join them: grandparents, an unmarried aunt, cousins, a new family in town, or the minister and his wife. Extra leaves are placed in the table. Chairs are gathered from other rooms. The mother serves from platters and bowls. Guests are urged to take more, often several times, because hospitality follows its own arithmetic. A guest who accepts immediately may seem eager. One who refuses too firmly risks going home hungry. Everyone understands the dance. After dinner, dishes are numerous. Women guests often help clear and wash, despite the hostess saying they need not. Conversation continues over dishwater. Men may sit in the parlour, walk through the garden, or help with practical work. Customs differ, but the kitchen after a shared meal is frequently where women speak most freely. Sunday afternoon slows, adults read the paper, children play quietly or visit cousins, and someone naps in a chair while maintaining that no nap occurred. A drive in the family car may be a treat if gasoline allows. Families visit relatives, cemeteries, parks, or the countryside. The car itself requires preparation. Radiators, tires, oil, batteries, and fuel demand attention. Roads outside town may be rough. A picnic basket holds sandwiches, boiled eggs, pickles, cake, fruit, and a jar of lemonade. Blankets are spread beneath trees. A mother on a picnic has done much of the same food work as at home, but the change of view makes it recreation. Children run through grass. Adults sit in shade. Ants appear with the punctuality of invited guests. Holidays bring larger versions of ordinary skills. At Thanksgiving, the mother plans days ahead. A turkey or chicken is obtained. Bread is dried for dressing. Pies are baked. Cranberries, sweet potatoes, squash, vegetables, relishes, and family specialties fill the table according to region and means. The oven schedule is a puzzle solved through experience. At Christmas, gifts are often handmade or carefully purchased. Pajamas, aprons, knitted mittens, embroidered linens, dolls' clothing, wooden toys, books, sweets, and fruit are wrapped. Nuts and oranges carry festive brightness. The house smells of evergreen, spice, candles where used safely, and baking. A tree may be decorated with glass ornaments, paper chains, tinsel, popcorn strings, and electric lights in homes able to use them. Earlier candle traditions are fading because of fire risk, though practices vary. Children hang stockings. Parents work quietly after bedtime. The mother bakes cookies cut into stars, bells, or simple rounds. Sugar cookies, gingerbread, fruitcake, fudge, divinity, peanut brittle, or other sweets depend on family tradition and ingredients. Recipes are brought out once a year, stained at the edges from many Decembers. Gift giving is modest in many homes, but expectation does not measure itself in dollars. A child hears paper rustle behind a closed door and imagines wonders. The mother's own gift may be a pair of gloves, perfume, a brooch, new slippers, or a kitchen tool she genuinely wants. Household objects given to women can be practical and welcome, though a wise family sometimes includes something that does not immediately request labor. Birthdays, school programs, graduations, weddings, and new babies also pass through her hands. For a child's birthday, she makes a cake. Layer cakes require careful beating, baking, cooling, and frosting. Without electric mixers, batter is worked with spoon, whisk, hand beater, or rotary egg beater. Egg whites are beaten until they hold peaks. Frosting is cooked or spread. Candles are counted. The best plate is used. Children arrive in clean clothes and grow less clean as games continue. Refreshments may be cake, ice cream if affordable and available, sandwiches, cocoa, or lemonade. Favors are simple: paper hats, pennies hidden in cake with care, or a small prize can create excitement. School events require costumes assembled from household resources. A shepherd's robe may begin as an old sheet. A patriotic pageant requires crepe paper, cardboard, and safety pins. A mother's sewing basket meets theatrical ambition and, with luck, both survive. When a baby comes to a household, women relatives and neighbors provide knowledge and help. Infant care advice in the 1930s can be strict, with schedules, weighing, feeding guidance, and an increasing emphasis on medical supervision. At the same time, family traditions remain strong. Mothers navigate doctors, nurses, books, their own mothers, and the baby, who has not read any of the books. Diapers are cloth, washed, boiled or treated according to practice, rinsed, hung and folded. Baby garments are soft and frequently laundered. Bottles, where used, require careful cleaning. Breastfeeding practices vary and are influenced by medical advice, work, circumstance and custom. A baby's presence changes the daily round. Work is done in intervals between feeding, changing, soothing, and sleep. A basket or carriage keeps the baby nearby. A mother learns to knead bread, fold clothes, or stir soup with one ear, listening for a change in breathing. The carriage may be pushed along town sidewalks in the afternoon. Other women lean close to admire the baby. They ask age, weight, sleep habits, and whom the child resembles. The accepted answer may be diplomatic. Older children help by fetching cloths, rocking the carriage, or watching for a few minutes. They also rediscover urgent needs at the exact moment the baby falls asleep. Illness, even minor illness, adds another layer of care. A child with a cold stays near the stove under a blanket. The mother prepares soup, toast, warm drinks, or whatever the doctor and family custom advise. She takes a temperature, washes handkerchiefs, airs the room, and keeps the other children from becoming too interested in the patient's tray. Doctors make house calls in many communities, carrying a bag and arriving by car. The family doctor may know several generations. Payment can be difficult for some families, and arrangements vary. Public health nurses, clinics, school nurses, and charitable services play important roles. The medicine cabinet holds iodine, bandages, ointment, aspirin, a thermometer, and remedies familiar to the household. Some period treatments later prove unhelpful or unsafe, so our view remains careful. The mother does what responsible people have always done. She uses the best knowledge available to her and seeks help when she can. Small injuries are part of childhood. Knees are washed. Splinters are removed under bright light. A bandage is tied. Comfort comes before the child is sent back to play with a warning to be careful, a warning whose useful life may be brief. The mother herself may feel tired or unwell, but much routine still depends upon her. On those days, meals become simpler. Children do more. A neighbor brings soup. Her husband manages breakfast with results that are perhaps entirely edible. The household bends rather than stops. Domestic work is sometimes described as if every woman approached it with the same temperament. They did not. Some loved baking and disliked ironing. Some kept immaculate parlors but tolerated a crowded sewing room. Some gardened beautifully and never mastered pie crust. Some sang while working. Some preferred silence. Some were orderly. Some inventive. Some hurried. Some dreamy. And most changed according to the hour. A small-town mother might also work for pay. She may take in washing, sewing, boarders, or children. She may sell eggs, butter, baked goods, garden produce, or needlework. She may teach school before marriage, or continue in occupations where rules allow. She may work in a shop, office, telephone exchange, factory, restaurant, hotel, library, post office, or family business. Widowed, unmarried, separated, or economically pressed women often support households directly, while many married women contribute income in visible and invisible ways. Taking in laundry extends washday beyond one family's clothes. Taking in sewing means evening hours at the machine. A boarding house keeper prepares meals, cleans rooms, changes bedding, and manages accounts for people beyond her own household. The boundary between homemaking and paid work is not always clear. Farm women living near town add dairying, poultry, field help, and food production to domestic tasks. Black women and immigrant women are disproportionately represented in domestic service and other demanding work, maintaining their own homes while laboring in those of others. Families' experiences differ sharply according to race, class, region, and opportunity. The warm image of a 1930s kitchen is real, but it is not one identical kitchen shared by everyone. Our mother is a composite, not a single documented person. Her routines draw from many ordinary records: household manuals, oral histories, photographs, advertisements, extension publications, newspapers, letters, surviving tools, and family memories. No one household contains every detail, but the rhythm would be recognized in towns across the country. Her skill lies partly in adaptation. If there is no indoor plumbing, she arranges the day around water. Water is carried for drinking, cooking, washing, bathing, and cleaning. Wastewater is carried out. A hand pump in the kitchen improves convenience, but it still requires effort. Rainwater may be collected for laundry because it is softer than well water. If there is plumbing but no automatic water heater, the range heats water. If there is an electric washer but no reliable place to dry clothes in winter, lines stretch across porch, attic, basement, or kitchen. If there is a refrigerator, meals can be stored differently. If there is an ice box, she plans around ice delivery and weather. If money is short, she changes menus rather than abandoning hospitality. Soup receives more vegetables. Meat is used for flavor. Biscuits fill the bread plate. Dessert becomes fruit or pudding. Company is served the best available, not necessarily something costly. If unexpected guests arrive, she adds another cup of water to the soup, opens a jar of pickles, cuts slices thinner, and brings out preserves. The table accommodates by confidence. Hospitality in small towns is often informal. A neighbor enters through the kitchen door after knocking. Coffee is put on. A plate of cookies appears, perhaps from a tin that was supposedly being saved. Conversation begins before anyone has fully sat down. Women visit while shelling peas, snapping beans, quilting, sewing, or rocking a baby. Work and companionship fit together. Hands move while stories unfold. Advice is offered indirectly, through accounts of what someone else once tried. Quilting bees and sewing circles turn large tasks into social occasions. A quilt top is stretched on a frame. Women sit along its sides, making small, even stitches through layers of fabric and batting. The frame is rolled as work advances. Patterns carry names such as Dresden plate, double wedding ring, grandmother's flower garden, log cabin, and many others. Fabric choices make each one individual. Some quilts are made for weddings, babies, fundraisers, or families in need. Conversation around a quilt moves easily. Children, recipes, weather, work, and town events pass over the frame. A story told on one side may reach the opposite side with useful improvements. Men and children join later for supper or social time. The completed quilt bears the touch of many hands, though no stitch announces who made it. Church suppers also display domestic skill on a public scale. Long tables hold casseroles, roasted meats, salads, pickles, rolls, pies, cakes, and coffee. Tickets raise money for repairs, missions, school needs, or community causes. Women plan quantities, organize kitchens, serve crowds, and wash mountains of dishes with an efficiency that could instruct a military quartermaster, though with better pie. Recipes gain reputations. Everyone knows who makes the light rolls, the firmest jelly, the finest noodles, or the cake that never falls. Such reputations are affectionate but serious. A woman may be asked to bring her dish so often that changing it would cause concern. Food knowledge is local knowledge. A cook knows which apples make good pie, when the baker discounts bread, which grocer has fresh fish on Friday, and whose hens are laying. She knows how weather affects dough, how humidity changes candy, and how to make gravy smooth without consulting a screen. She also knows preservation beyond canning. Food may be dried, pickled, smoked, salted, stored in a root cellar, or kept in crocks according to type and regional practice. Potatoes and apples require cool ventilation. Onions must stay dry. Jars need darkness and steady temperatures. A cellar is inspected for damp, pests, and spoilage. Going down cellar steps with a lamp or bulb overhead, you smell earth, wood, stone, apples, and preserves. Shelves line the walls. Crocks stand on the floor. The air is cool even in summer. The mother chooses a jar, wipes its lid, and carries it upstairs. Before opening it, she checks the seal and contents. Good household practice is attentive practice. Spring cleaning has an equally distinct atmosphere. After months of closed windows and heating fires, the first mild days invite the house to open. Curtains come down. Bedding goes outside. Mattresses are turned. Rugs are rolled, carried to the yard, and beaten over a line or frame. Dust rises in small clouds and drifts away. Walls may be cleaned according to finish. Wallpaper is brushed or treated carefully. Painted woodwork is washed. Ceilings collect soot and need attention. Closets are emptied, shelves wiped, and winter clothing cleaned before storage. The entire household may be recruited. Children carry small items, shake cushions, and disappear when rugs need beating, unless watched closely. Furniture is moved. Lost objects emerge. A toy, a coin, a hairpin, a Christmas tree needle, surviving with extraordinary determination. Fresh shelf paper is cut for cupboards. Newspapers may line drawers. Curtains return clean and crisp. Windows shine. The smell of soap and outdoor air fills every room. Spring cleaning is exhausting, but afterward the house feels enlarged. Sun reaches places that seem dim all winter. Even familiar furniture looks briefly new. The mother may reward the work with lemonade, cookies, or a simple supper eaten without ceremony. Satisfaction itself is part of the meal. Summer housekeeping demands a different strategy. Work begins early before heat builds. Baking may be done once or twice a week rather than daily. Cold foods, salads, fruit, sandwiches, and leftovers reduce stove use. A porch becomes an extra room. The porch is swept and furnished with chairs, perhaps a glider or swing. Potted ferns or geraniums sit near steps. After supper, the family moves outside. Neighbours wave. Children play tag, jacks, marbles, hopscotch, or ball games until dusk. A mother shells peas or mends while sitting in the evening air. The street carries voices, bicycle bells, radios through open windows, and the distant call of someone summoning a child home. Fireflies appear above the grass. Children catch them in jars with holes punched in the lids, creating small lanterns that are admired briefly before sensible adults encourage release. Ice cream is a special summer pleasure. It may be bought at the drugstore, delivered, or made in a hand-cranked freezer. Cream, milk, sugar, fruit, vanilla, ice, and salt are assembled. Someone turns the crank while the mixture freezes. Children volunteer eagerly at the beginning, when turning is easy. Their enthusiasm often weakens as the handle grows stiff, leaving an adult to finish while everyone else provides advice. At last the lid is lifted, the dasher removed, and soft ice cream is spooned into bowls. Peach, strawberry, chocolate, or vanilla tastes especially good outdoors. The bowls are scraped thoroughly. Saturday in any season often brings preparation for Sunday and the coming week. The house receives extra tidying. Baths are taken, shoes are polished, clothes are laid out, baking is done. The mother may wash her own hair, a task requiring time for drying and setting. Hair is wrapped around rags, pins, rollers, or finger waves according to style. She bakes bread, cake, or pie. Bread making begins with yeast softened in warm water or milk, then combined with flour, salt, fat, and perhaps sugar. The dough is kneaded on a floured board until smooth and elastic. Hands press, fold, turn, press again. Bread dough has a living feel. It changes beneath the palms. When ready, it is placed in a greased bowl, covered with a cloth, and set near warmth to rise. The mother judges the place carefully. Too cool, and the dough is slow. Too warm, and it may rise too quickly. A sunny windowsill, the back of the stove, or a warm corner provides shelter. After rising, the dough is punched down, shaped into loaves, and left again. The oven is heated. Baking bread fills the home with a scent that reaches every room and has probably brought children into kitchens for as long as bread has existed. A finished loaf sounds hollow when tapped. Its crust is brushed with butter for softness or left crisp. It cools on a rack, beyond immediate cutting if the cook can defend it. Warm bread slices beautifully in memory and somewhat less neatly in practice. The heel may be given to a child with butter and jam. It is a small reward for being nearby at the correct moment. Pie begins with fat cut into flour, cold water added sparingly, and dough handled lightly. The crust is rolled on a board, dusted with flour. It is lifted into the plate, filled, covered, crimped, and vented. Apple filling is seasoned with sugar, cinnamon, and perhaps nutmeg. Berry filling needs thickening. Pumpkin is smooth and spiced. Custard requires steady heat. Meringue demands well-beaten egg whites and careful browning. A failed crust is discouraging, but not a public emergency. It can become cobbler, shortcake, or a pie served in bowls. The family rarely objects to dessert that requires a spoon. Saturday may also mean a trip to a movie theatre. Small-town theatres offer newsreels, cartoons, short subjects, and feature films. During the Depression, movies provide glamour, comedy, music, adventure, and a few hours in an upholstered seat away from ordinary concerns. Admission still costs money, so outings are planned. The mother wears a good dress and perhaps lipstick. Children are warned to behave. The theatre lobby smells of popcorn, carpet, and perfume. Lights dim, curtains part, and the screen brightens. Newsreels show distant events. Then the feature carries everyone into a world of elegant gowns, quick dialogue, grand hotels, western landscapes, or musical stages. Hollywood homes bear little resemblance to the kitchen waiting at home, but that is part of their purpose. Afterward, the family walks beneath theatre lights, discussing favourite scenes. A soda or ice cream may follow if the budget allows. Back home, ordinary rooms seem briefly cinematic. The mother removes her hat, turns on the kitchen light, and finds the familiar table exactly where it was. Entertainment also comes through books and libraries. The public library may occupy a room in the town hall, a Carnegie Library building, a storefront, or a dedicated structure. Its air smells of paper, varnish, and dust. Books are borrowed with cards and date stamps. Librarians recommend novels, biographies, mysteries, children's stories, and practical manuals. The mother reads when she can. Fiction offers travel without fare, company without preparation, and a private hour after others sleep. She may follow popular authors, serialized magazine stories, romances, mysteries, or family sagas. Library books are covered carefully and kept away from sticky hands. Their due dates are remembered alongside grocery bills and school events. Reading is leisure, but it also supplies recipes, health information, sewing techniques, child guidance, and ideas for the home. Homemaking education is expanding through schools, colleges, extension services, and government publications. Home economists study nutrition, sanitation, textiles, budgeting, and household efficiency. County extension agents demonstrate canning, sewing, gardening, and meal planning. Printed bulletins provide detailed advice at little or no cost. Women attend demonstrations in church halls, schools, or farm offices. They watch pressure canners, learn new recipes, examine seams, or discuss child nutrition. Scientific language enters the kitchen, joining older knowledge. Sometimes the new advice confirms what mothers already do. Sometimes it revises practice. Sometimes it adds another standard to an already full day. The practical homemaker takes what is useful and measures it against experience. Efficiency is a popular idea. Kitchen designers study work paths between stove, sink, and storage. Counter heights, lighting, and labor-saving devices are discussed. Advertisements promise fewer steps and more leisure. Yet the number of tasks can expand as standards rise. A washing machine may ease agitation, but encourage more frequent washing. Better lighting reveals more dust. New nutritional guidance adds planning. Convenience does not always create empty hours. Sometimes it changes what is expected within them. Still, genuine improvements matter. Indoor plumbing, safe water, reliable electricity, refrigeration, better stoves, and effective appliances reduce burdens and improve health. Women appreciate them not because they lack skill, but because skill recognizes a useful tool. The 1930s kitchen sits at this meeting point between old methods and new possibilities. Look around it once more. There is a range, dark and solid. A kettle has polished places where hands lift it. The icebox door carries a calendar from a local business. A mixing bowl rests on a shelf. Curtains filter the afternoon sun. A fly swatter hangs on a nail, practical and unromantic. A calendar picture shows a landscape brighter than any actual February. The kitchen table is command center, workbench, desk, dining place, sewing surface, sickroom station, and social gathering spot. Dough is rolled there. Homework is done there. Bills are counted. Letters are written. Babies are bathed in a small tub placed nearby. Neighbors drink coffee. Children confess broken objects. Its surface bears marks beneath the oilcloth. A knife once slipped. A hot pan left a pale ring. Someone pressed too hard with a pencil. The table holds the household's history without asking anyone to preserve it. The mother's hands know every part of the room. They test a child's forehead and bread dough with the same gentle back of the fingers touch. They lift heavy wet sheets, then thread a fine needle. They judge the weight of flour, the warmth of milk, the ripeness of fruit, and the strength of a seam. Her work requires memory. She keeps track of pantry stores, clothing sizes, appointments, family preferences, borrowing and lending, birthdays, school demands, recipes, remedies, and the 1,000 unfinished threads of a household. It requires timing. Bread must rise, jars must process, baths must happen, children must leave, meals must be ready, and laundry must be brought in before rain. It requires judgment. Is the milk still good? Can this dress be altered? Will the coal last? Is that cough improving? Does the guest need encouragement to eat more or permission to refuse? It requires diplomacy. Children, neighbours, clerks, relatives, teachers, and husbands do not always arrive with matching plans. It requires endurance, certainly, but it also requires imagination. Economy without imagination becomes monotony. With imagination, yesterday's potatoes become crisp cakes, an old dress becomes a child's skirt, and a few flowers make the kitchen table ready for company. Most of this work leaves no permanent object. The meal is eaten. The room becomes untidy again. The child outgrows the dress. The mended sock eventually wears through elsewhere. Yet the result is visible in daily continuity. People wake, eat, leave, return, learn, recover, celebrate, and sleep. The mother may not describe herself as a household manager, nutrition planner, textile worker, purchasing agent, nurse, teacher, cook, cleaner, bookkeeper, gardener, and repairer. Such titles would sound unnecessarily grand at the breakfast table. She may simply say she has work to do at home. The dignity lies comfortably in the work itself. There are moments when she is frustrated. The jelly refuses to set. Rain reaches the sheets. A child tears new trousers. The oven runs hot. The telephone rings when both hands are in dough. But even frustration can later become family humour. The jam that stayed syrup becomes excellent pancake topping. The lopsided cake is remembered longer than the perfect ones. A dress altered in haste appears in photographs and earns affection, because everyone knows the story. Family memory keeps domestic history in fragments. Someone remembers the way her kitchen smelled on bread day. Someone remembers a flour handprint on an apron. Someone remembers being allowed to turn the washing machine wringer under close supervision. Someone remembers the snap of sheets, the cool cellar, and the button tin tipped onto the table. A daughter remembers how her mother tested the iron. A son remembers coming home to soup. A grandchild remembers the pantry jars glowing in late sun. Often the remembered woman herself thought these things too ordinary to mention. If she kept a diary, the entry might be brief. Washed, baked bread, went to town, children home, rain at 4. 5 words can contain hours of lifting, measuring, listening and deciding. Letters sometimes reveal more. "I have been busy," a woman writes, then fills a page with weather, family, canning, school, a neighbour's visit, and a dress under construction. Busyness is treated as the background, not the subject. Photographs show a woman standing on a porch, perhaps in a flowered dress, one hand resting on a child's shoulder. The image does not show the breakfast dishes, the mending basket, or the bread cooling indoors. Yet those things surround the moment invisibly. Let your attention soften again. You do not have to remember every object or every task. Let them pass like rooms viewed through half-open doors. The steaming washtubs, the market basket, the sewing machine, the radio's amber dial. Night has returned to the small town, but another morning is close. The alarm clock sounds. She rises in the blue darkness and puts her feet on the cool floor. Yesterday's work has prepared the room. The kettle is ready. Oatmeal waits in its tin. Lunch paper is folded. A shirt has its button. She lights the stove. Today may be Tuesday, and the damp laundry waits for ironing. Or it may be Wednesday, with town errands after dinner. Thursday could bring baking and a church meeting. Friday may require a more thorough cleaning before the weekend. Saturday prepares for Sunday. The pattern is flexible but reassuring. Breakfast is different this morning. She fries slices of cornmeal mush, left from an earlier meal. The chilled loaf has been cut into neat pieces, browned in a little fat, and served with syrup or preserves. The edges turn crisp while the centers stay soft. The children appear with the same combination of sleepiness and appetite. One has misplaced a book. The mother knows where it is because she returned it from beneath a pillow yesterday. Her husband mentions frost. She thinks at once of the last tomatoes and whether they should be covered or picked. One sentence changes the afternoon's work. This responsiveness is central to household life. Plans exist, but weather, children, visitors, illness, deliveries, and prices revise them. The mother does not control every condition. She keeps adjusting. After breakfast, she wraps lunches and sees everyone out. The screen door closes. Quiet returns. She washes the dishes, then turns on the radio. Music enters the kitchen with a little static. Outside, milk bottles stand on porches. Home milk delivery is common in many towns. The milkman brings glass bottles in a truck or wagon, lifting a carrier that makes the bottles chime together. Cream rises to the top unless the milk is homogenized, which is not yet universal. In freezing weather, the cream may push the paper cap upward if bottles are left too long. The household leaves empty bottles washed and ready for collection. Notes or standing orders tell the milkman what is needed. Milk, cream, butter, and sometimes eggs or other dairy products arrive at the door. Bread may also be delivered. So may groceries, ice, coal, and laundry service for families able to pay. Delivery seems luxurious to modern ears in some ways, but it also reflects a retail system built around local routes and regular customers. The mother hears the milk truck and steps onto the porch. She exchanges empties for full bottles and pays or records the amount. The glass is cold against her hand. Back inside, she pours milk into a pitcher or places the bottles in the icebox. The cream will be used for coffee, dessert, or butter, according to need. Bottle caps may be saved for children's crafts or simply discarded. Nothing escapes evaluation for possible usefulness. On ironing day, she sets the board near a window. The damp rolls are opened one at a time. The radio offers a household program. A presenter explains a new recipe using canned pineapple. The mother listens while pressing a pillowcase. Pineapple, once an exotic fruit for many families, is widely available canned and frequently promoted in recipes. It appears in cakes, salads, glazes, and combinations later generations may greet with varying degrees of enthusiasm. She considers the recipe. It requires a full can and several eggs, perhaps for company, not today. The iron moves back and forth. Her arm knows the pressure. She turns the cloth, smooths it, and presses again. The youngest child's blouse has a rounded collar and puffed sleeves. Each curve requires care. She slips the point of the iron into gathers. The blouse becomes crisp and bright. A man's shirt takes longer. Collar first, then cuffs, sleeves, yoke, back, and fronts, in an order that prevents newly pressed areas from becoming wrinkled again. She hangs it immediately. Clothing in the 1930s is generally more structured than modern casual wear. Dresses, shirts, trousers, collars, slips, stockings, and pressed garments require maintenance. Even everyday neatness can represent considerable hidden labor. Women wear house dresses for domestic work, often changing into a better dress before going out or before a husband returns, depending on personal custom and social expectation. Aprons protect clothing, but smoke, steam, and work still leave their traces. The idealized advertisements show a smiling homemaker in perfect hair and heels beside a gleaming appliance. Real women may look at the picture while standing in practical shoes with one curl escaping its pin. They understand the difference between illustration and Tuesday. By noon, finished clothing hangs along the doorway. The kitchen smells of hot starch. Her shoulders are tired, so she rolls them gently and pours water. She sits for a few minutes before preparing the meal. Rest is often taken in brief intervals rather than large blocks. A chair while potatoes boil. A cup while bread rises. 5 minutes before children return. The ability to pause without losing the shape of the day is another practiced skill. She may prop her feet on a low stool. Sunlight warms the floor. The radio plays a slow song. You can share that quiet without borrowing her tiredness. Let the iron cool. Let the song become distant. The next part of the day can arrive at its own pace. At dinner, the children eat soup and bread. One reports that a friend's family has bought a new refrigerator. The appliance apparently makes ice cubes. Ice cubes made at home are still novel enough to mention. Metal trays with levers or removable dividers can release cubes, though not always without effort. A refrigerator that freezes ice offers summer drinks, desserts, and freedom from the iceman. The mother asks what kind it is. then smiles at the child's detailed report, which contains information about the shiny handle, but none about price or manufacturer. Later that afternoon, she covers the tomato plants against frost. Old sheets, sacks, or newspapers protect them through the night. The children help anchor corners with stones. The sheets rise in pale shapes across the garden, making the yard look as though several polite ghosts have taken an interest in vegetables. By morning, frost silvering the grass may prove the effort worthwhile. Domestic life is full of these small defences against cold, spoilage, wear, insects, dirt, and time. The mother cannot prevent everything, but she can place a cloth over tomatoes, a lid over dough, a patch over a knee, and a quilt over a child. The image is simple, the knowledge behind it is not. As years pass, the household changes. A refrigerator may finally replace the icebox. A new washing machine may arrive. The children grow tall enough to reach cupboards, and then tall enough to leave home. The 1930s lead into the 1940s, when war will reshape work, rationing, production, and family life. But tonight we remain within 1936, before those later chapters have opened. The mother knows only the day in front of her. She knows that Friday is payday if work holds. She knows a school coat must be altered. She knows there are 6 jars of peaches left and plenty of tomatoes. She knows her sister is coming Sunday. Knowledge close to the home can be as absorbing as any distant event. The sister's visit requires fresh sheets in the spare room or on a shared bed. A chicken may be prepared. Cake is baked. The house receives a little extra polish. Company cleaning differs from ordinary cleaning. The already clean room is examined from the perspective of a guest. A lampshade is dusted. Towels are changed. A drawer is cleared. The front porch is swept once more, for reasons known only to the hostess and the porch. Flowers from the garden go into a jar or vase. In autumn, branches with coloured leaves may serve instead. The guest towel is placed neatly. Soap is new, or nearly so. When the sister arrives, embraces and exclamations fill the hall. A suitcase is carried upstairs. Children gather around for gifts or stories. The women move quickly to the kitchen, where coffee is made regardless of the hour. They talk while preparing the meal. Because they share family history, half a sentence can summon a whole person or event. They compare recipes, children, and prices. They notice each other's hands and faces, perhaps seeing signs of time they do not mention. The sister helps roll noodles. Dough is rolled paper thin and left to dry briefly, then cut into narrow strips. Flour dusts the table. The knife makes steady, soft strokes. Noodles simmer in chicken broth until tender. The kitchen windows fog. Family members drift close, drawn by the smell and the voices. After supper, the sisters wash dishes together. One washes, one dries. They fall into an old rhythm from the kitchen where they grew up. Perhaps their mother had a pump at the sink and a larger wood range. Perhaps they carried water, shared a bedroom, and learned to iron on handkerchiefs. They remember things differently, as siblings do, but the motions of dishwashing remain shared. Later, after others sleep, they sit with tea and talk quietly. This is one of the small joys woven through the work, companionship that does not require entertainment, only time in the same room. Friendship among women often lives this way. A neighbour arrives with sewing. A cousin helps can peaches. A mother and daughter snap beans. The work gives hands occupation and conversation room to deepen without direct demand. Silences are comfortable. One woman knows when to refill the cup. Another recognizes that advice is not wanted yet. The clock moves, but nobody watches it too closely. Eventually, the guest goes to bed. The mother checks the stove and kitchen. Even company cannot cancel the last round. In the morning, breakfast is livelier. There are pancakes or biscuits, perhaps, because guests justify a little ceremony. Coffee is poured. Children ask their aunt questions. The day begins around the same table, enlarged by one more chair. And so the year circles through ordinary and special days, each resting on domestic preparation. The mother may sometimes wonder what she accomplished. A room cleaned Monday needs attention again by Friday. Bread baked Saturday is gone by Tuesday. Yet the children have grown between one hem and the next. The family has moved through seasons under a roof kept warm, aired, swept and repaired. Quiet dignity is rarely announced. It can be heard in a kettle placed on the stove before dawn. It can be seen in a lunch wrapped neatly when ingredients are modest. It lives in a jar checked for a sound seal, a collar turned, a button matched, and a child heard out at the end of a busy afternoon. No household is always harmonious. No mother is endlessly patient. The nostalgic home still contains slammed doors, overcooked beans, sharp words, muddy shoes, and nights when everyone is too tired. Warmth does not require perfection. Often it is the repair afterward that becomes part of home life. A softer word, a cup placed beside someone, an apology while drying dishes, a favourite piece of pie saved without comment. Care is not always spoken directly. In many families of the period, affection appears through service and attention. Take your coat can mean you are loved. I saved you some supper can hold an entire welcome. The children may not understand this until later. At the time, the coat is merely a coat, and supper is something expected to exist. Years afterward, the memory returns with its meaning intact. Perhaps that is why the domestic sounds endure so strongly. The pump handle, the hand mixer, the stove lid, the wringer, the treadle machine, the rattle of a button tin, the wooden slap of a screen door, the spoon circling a bowl. Each sound belongs to someone doing an ordinary thing for people who belong there. In a modern home, many of the tools have changed almost beyond recognition. A washing machine fills itself, agitates, rinses, spins, and may send a cheerful little tune into the room as though it personally composed the clean towels. A refrigerator makes ice without a delivery card in the window. An oven holds a chosen temperature. Groceries can arrive after a few taps on a screen. Yet the deeper pattern remains surprisingly familiar. Someone still notices that the milk is low. Someone remembers a birthday, finds a missing shoe, warms soup, folds a blanket, checks a door, or saves the last good piece for another person. A kitchen table may now hold a laptop beside the school papers, but it is still where plans are made, news is shared, and cups are set down during a difficult or pleasant conversation. We still stretch ingredients, though we may call it meal planning. We still turn leftovers into tomorrow's lunch. We still keep drawers full of objects that may one day prove useful. We still clean before company arrives, including corners the company has no reasonable intention of inspecting. And many modern comforts carry the memory of earlier hands. A quilt folded over a sofa may have been pieced by a grandmother. A recipe card may be written in faded ink. A mixing bowl, button tin, rolling pin, or embroidered towel may survive long after the kitchen where it was first used has changed or disappeared. Even when no object remains, the habits can continue. The way someone folds towels, the addition of a little cinnamon to applesauce, the insistence that soup improves overnight, the practice of sending food home with a visitor in a container that may or may not ever return. Homes are linked across time, less by decoration than by repeated acts of attention. The 1930s mother at her kitchen window would be astonished by many modern devices. She might admire them, examine their cost, ask how difficult they are to clean, and then want to know whether they truly save time. That would be a fair question. But she would recognize the evening pause, the cup between two hands, The quiet after children or guests have gone, the satisfaction of a room settled for the night. She would recognize that a home is never finished in the way a built object is finished. It is renewed. Morning by morning, meal by meal, load by load, it is made ready again. And now the stove in the little 1936 kitchen has been banked low. The last cup stands upside down beside the sink. The clock ticks beneath the darkened window, and clean sheets breathe faintly in the upstairs rooms. Thank you for spending this quiet day among the kitchens, porches, gardens, and careful hands of the past. May the old house grow dim around you now, warm and peaceful, while every unfinished task waits kindly for another morning. Good night, and rest well. The kettle will know when it is time to sing again.